Welcome back. All right, so 11 games tonight in the National Hockey League. We got two boards with 5 games on them, and the Philadelphia-San Jose game has got its own board because it's so consequential that it needed to have its own board. All right, so we're going to start things off with Detroit and the Buffalo Sabres. And again, the Buffalo Sabres play the most exciting games in the National Hockey League. Whether they're winning, whether they're losing, it does not matter. They play the most exciting games. It's Hellberg versus Luukkonen in this one. Early jump for the Sabres. The Sabres had some pressure at 4 minutes. Soderblom is then denied from the slot. Skinner was denied on a one-timer. The shots are 3 apiece at 7.5 minutes, so good back and forth going on there. Dahlin has a screenshot. That's helped, or held. Sabres get a power play. It's killed off. Shortly after it's killed off, Buffalo gets on the board. It's Mittelstadt from Peterka and Power at 15:32. With 129 left, I should say, the Sabres get a power play. 19 seconds later, it becomes 4-on-4. The fans did not like that call. So it rolls over into the second period. And after everything's all killed off, Skinner scores at 1 minute and 20 seconds. He buries one on a turnover. So that makes it 2-0 Buffalo. The shots 6 minutes into the period are 2-1 for the Wings. So that's the only shot they'd allowed in the first 6 minutes. Wings press, Larkin's denied. The Sabres get a power play. They score on it. It's Mittelstadt with the second goal of the game from Power and Peterka at 10:28. So same scoring combination there. And then less than a minute later, on a good forecheck by Girgensons, Okposo buries one at 11:21. So that makes it 4-0. So the Laughers on at 11:21. Sabres press for another. Eventually they get it. Okposo scores from Jost and Olofsson at 14:02. And in symbolism terms, and just as a symbolic gesture, the fact that Hronek smashed his stick on the top of the net multiple times, and I didn't see it break, it kind of says the kind of night that Detroit was having at that point, because it's now 5-0. Wings get a power play. The ref is told that he sucks as soon as a power play is granted to the Wings. Boleno has a shot that's saved. That's killed off. Peterka's then denied out of the box, but it's 5-0 after 2. Third period, good back and forth to start, but then Kubalik, with his first in 10 games, gets a goal from Soderblom at 2:35. Was a nice cross-crease pass and buried. Wings get a power play, and it's Kubalik with his second goal in a couple of minutes at 4:23 from Veleno and Berggren. This is where Mickey tonight really got me. Mickey, after the Kubalik goal, said, hey, if Detroit scores every 4 minutes, they'll tie it. And when this one, he started laughing, so the Sabres try to answer, but then at 7 minutes and 11 seconds, Osterley scores from Kopp and Berggren. And this is where Mickey Redmond's kind of like, yeah, no, I called it. Yeah, no, this is, yeah, there you go. See, 5-3, no problem. It was a good press, and they bury it. And all of a sudden, this game is being thrown into some doubt. Sabres get a power play, which definitely helped to stem some of that tide of Red Wings offense. That's killed off with 4:55 left. Detroit pulls the goaltender because you got to get a couple. And Okposo hits the empty net. Hat-trick goal at 16:22. So, with 2:32 left, the Sabres then get a power play, and that is what does them in. Does them as in the Red Wings. Your final score is 6-3 for Buffalo. They go to 17-14-2. Do not count out the Buffalo Sabres. For Detroit, they're 15-12-7 with the loss. The shots in this one, 14-7 Boston in the first, 14-7 Buffalo in the first, 11-7 Buffalo in the second, 17-10 Detroit in the third. Final shots 35-31 for Buffalo. Power plays 1 for 3 for Detroit, 1 for 5 for Buffalo. The hits 15-9 for Detroit. Hellberg saves 29 out of 34, and Luukkonen saves 28 out of 31. Again, Luukkonen's making an argument that he should stick around at the NHL level. Next up, Montreal in against Florida. So, yeah, I know the scores squished together to look like 27, but again, these things happen. So it's Montembeault versus Bobrovsky. Early chances for the Habs. The Panthers would press at 2.5 minutes, and Barkov deflects one in at 2:37 from Forsling and Verhaeghe. Forsling was then denied on a net drive. Habs press at 8.5 minutes. The Panthers, though, they get a power play, and they score on it. It is Barkov from Reinhart and Ekblad at 11:50. So Barkov having himself quite the game, and he would continue to do that throughout this one. So that was a good cycle and buried there by Barkov. The Habs then get a power play. Gallagher took a puck to the face, so welcome back, Brendan Gallagher. Here's a puck in the face for your troubles. But after the power play ends, the Habs score. It's Jack-Eye from Hoffman at 14:15. However, a little over a minute later, Barkov scores at 15:22. It's the first period. He has a hat trick. The record for goals in a game is 4 for Florida. He did not reach that tonight, but he did have chances. So with 4:32 left, the Habs get a 4-minute power play. Florida kills the first half. They don't kill the second half. Josh Anderson scores from Hoffman and Xhekaj at 19:13. Good cycle and in the net. So Xhekaj with a goal and an assist in the first period. And it's only 3-2, so it's close. Second period, Eric Staal has a shot that's saved in close. The Panthers get a power play. Barkov nearly gets his fourth, and then Tkachuk would score on that power play at 6:22 from Montour and Barkov. The Habs then get a power play. That's killed off. The Panthers rush after it's done. The shots are 7-3 for the Panthers with 6 minutes left. They get another power play, do those Panthers, and that was killed off. But going into the third period, the score is 4-2. The Habs would press at 3 minutes, but Verhaeghe would score at 4:14 to turn this into a game that we had no doubt who was winning. Panthers get a power play, and they score on it as Tkachuk from Barkov and Montour at 7:24. And then at 9:31 on a turnover, Luostarinen scores from Bennett. Makes it 7-2. Florida would get a power play. There was a lot of penalty stuff going on late, but in all honesty, there was never any doubt in this one. Your final score is 7-2 for Florida. They even up the record at 16 wins to go with 16 regulation losses. That third column, which has a 4 in it, means they've won 16 out of 36. For Montreal, they're now 15, 18, and 3. They're now 3 games below NHL 500 and still falling off. Shots in this one are 15-14 for Florida in the first, 12-2 for Florida in the second, 14-11 for the Panthers in the third. They outshot Montreal 41-27. Power plays, Montreal 2 for 4, Florida 3 for 6. Hits 26-24 for Montreal. Montembeault saves 34 out of 41, and Bobrovsky saved 25 out of 27. So good numbers for Bobrovsky. And honestly, Florida, it really wasn't in any doubt once we get to the third period. There isn't really a whole lot else to add. For Montreal, it only counts as one game, but the results from last night's game against Tampa and tonight's against Florida really do show that Montreal's playoff picture and all of that's all done now. I think we can agree that that's done now. Next up, the Rangers in against Tampa. This was a very entertaining game, and both goaltenders were fantastic, with Shesterkin versus Vasilevsky, so don't be surprised. The goaltenders were the story here. Early press by the Bolts. They led in the shots 3-1 4 minutes in. Stamkos nearly gets one. There's a near miss for Blaine. The Rangers press with 7.5 minutes left. Eventually they get one. At 12:45, it's Benajad from Lindgren and Kakko. And then the Rangers look for another. The Bolts get a power play. Aggressive penalty kill, though, by the Rangers. They do kill that off. Gauthier then had a rush chance that was saved. Cirelli has a rush chance, but his stick decides now's a good time to die. So after the first period, the score's 1-0 for the Rangers. Second period, early jump for the Bolts. Rangers press at 4.5 minutes. The Bolts score, but Hagel clearly gloved that puck. I think it was on the pad, and he just grabs it, or on the blocker, just grabs it, puts it down. And I know it went in off the Rangers player, but you can't allow that. So, that doesn't count. You can't just, look, I did that. Then there's a crossbar for Panarin when the Rangers got a power play, and Panarin was very familiar with the crossbar by the end of the night. It's a good cycle on that power play for the Rangers, but Tampa Bay kills it. The shots are 8-4 for the Rangers, 8 minutes in. The Rangers go back to the power play. That was killed off. The Bolts press with 8 minutes left. Gauthier's then denied on a break. And after a second period, which features 33 shots, there was no scoring change. We're still looking at a 1-0 Rangers lead going into the third. The Rangers would press at 5 minutes, but then the Bolts press the other way. There's a post for Kucherov, and Point would score from Stamkos and Kucherov at 5:32. It's one of those tic-tac-toe goals. It's not fair having Point, Stamkos, and Kucherov all on the same line. It's not right. It's not fair. And there you go. It's tied. The shots are 8-5 for Tampa with 7 minutes left. There's a press by Tampa with 6.5 minutes left. And no penalties in the third. Very clean game overall. A lot of hits, not a lot of penalties. So that's good to see. Then we go to overtime. The New York Rangers 2-4 in overtime. Tampa Bay 5-0 in overtime. Those numbers would not change. Trocheck couldn't bury one. Panarin fires one wide. Kucherov has a shot that's blocked. The Rangers control. They get a change out of that as well, but then Killorn has a blast that's saved. The Rangers get a power play, which did not make Tampa Bay happy, of course. Fox has a shot that deflects high. Panarin fires one wide. That power play was killed off. So you go to a shootout. It takes a little while, but Killorn would eventually get the winner. And so Tampa Bay wins this one 2-1 in a shootout. They go to 22-11 and 1 with the win. The Rangers drop to 19-12 and 6 with the shootout loss. The shots in this one, 12 apiece in the first, 19-14 Rangers in the second, 11-10 Tampa Bay in the third. In the overtime, 5-3 Rangers. So there were a lot of chances. Final shots, 46-40 in favor of the Rangers. Power plays, the Rangers 0 for 3, Tampa Bay 0 for 1. The hits were 40-40. Shesterkin saves 39 out of 40. Vasilevsky saves 45 out of 46. That'll bring their stats up a little bit, won't it? And it was an entertaining game to boot. All right, next up, Ottawa in against the Washington Capitals. This was Talbot versus Kemper. Both goalies having a couple of really good games themselves lately. Shots are 2-0 for the Sens at 3 minutes. They were swarming a lot in that first period. Hamonic has a screenshot that saved. Kemper was the reason this one was staying scoreless early. Caps get chances, but they're not getting shots at this point. Pinto has a shot that's held. Milano has a rush chance that's defended by Holden. There's a press by Ottawa at the half. Shabbat has a rush chance. That's kicked aside. The Caps are throwing some heavy hits here. Ovechkin was throwing hits, Hathaway, various others. And in all honesty, this is another pretty good game when it comes to the hitting department. Ovi has a blast that's held. The Sens press with 2.5 minutes left, but after the first period, it's scoreless. Second period, early press by the Sens, but on a rush chance, Ovechkin scores number 803. He scores from Gustafsson and Hathaway at 1:15. The Senators get a power play. That's killed off. Then there's a post for Kelly. That close to a tie. And then Strome would make it 2-0. He scores from Sherry and Jensen at 3:37. That's usually how that works, right? You get a really good scoring chance at one end. Puck goes in at the other end. But to the credit of the Ottawa Senators, they don't stop. Sanderson with the goal at 8 minutes and 30 seconds. It was a deflected point shot. I don't know if it's still going to be Sanderson's goal tomorrow. It looked like it went off somebody in front. But either way, Sanderson gets the goal at this point. It's 2-1 in favor of the Capitals. Pinto then fires one wide on a rush, but then on a filthy move on a net drive, Kuznetsov scores at 15:56 to make it 3-1 in favor of the Capitals. So the Caps are up. It looks like they're probably home and cooled. Things then get punchy after a hold by Kemper. The Sens, with a power play, that becomes a 4-on-4. There's a near miss for DeBrincat. There's a shorthanded chance for Kelly. That's saved, and everything's killed off. And then at 19:44, just before the period's done, one of those killer goals, Stützle scores from Giroux. So after 2 periods, it's 3-2 in favor of the Caps. All 5 goals in the second period. The long change truly does generate some offense. Third period, the Senators were 0-13-2 when they're trailing after 2 periods this season. So did not bode well, and yet here we are. Kubel fires one wide. The Sens press. They're kept to the outside. Eller, net feed, that was picked off. Stützle is denied in front of the net. Kastelik had a rush chance. That was held. He net crashed on that one too. And then it's DeBrincat who ties it. Yes, he scores from Pinto and Batherson at 14:26. So all of a sudden it's a 3-3 tie. Game's getting kind of pushy at this point too. Both teams kind of frustrated. Both of them looking for that extra point, looking for that one-upsmanship. Ovechkin has a shot that's blocked with 2 minutes left. We're going to overtime. Sens control early. Sherry had a rush chance. Gustafsson would miss the net. And then DeBrincat scores. It's a 2-0. He scores assist from Giroux at 1:31. 2-0, pass and buried. No chance for Kemper there. Your final score is 4-3 in favor of the Sens. They get back to NHL 500, 16-16-3. The Capitals 20-13-5 with the overtime loss. The shots in this one, 16-4 Ottawa in the first, 17-13 Ottawa in the second, 10-6 Ottawa in the third, and they had both shots in the overtime, including the one that matters. Final shots, 45-23 for the Sens. We'll see if this is a turning point. We've talked about turning points a few times this season, and they haven't been able to get over the hump. So the power plays, both teams 0 for 1 in this one, so only 2 power plays. Hits 36-36. Talbot saves 20 out of 23. Kemper saves 41 out of 45. And again, I thought Kemper had a decent game, just not the night for the Capitals that they had hoped. All right. Columbus in against the New York Islanders. So Columbus, I've said for about a week, about 10 days maybe, I think Columbus is the worst team in the league right now, and obviously injuries aren't helping with that. So it's Korpisalo versus Sorokin in this one. Columbus presses at 2 minutes. Beauvillier then had a rush chance that was held. Islanders press at 4.5 minutes. Sillinger then had a chance that was tipped wide. Power play for the Islanders. Columbus kills that off. Too many Islanders on the ice gives Columbus Blue Jackets power play. Bemstrom has a shot that's held. That's killed off as well. The shots are 8-5 for the Islanders with 7 minutes left. So they're getting the better chances at this point too. Columbus getting some opportunities on turnovers shortly thereafter. Islanders get a power play. There was a shorthanded rush by Sillinger. That shot was saved. They do kill that penalty off as well. Cizikas was then denied on a turnover. After the first period, it's scoreless. Second period, the Islanders had the early jump. The shots are 5-1 in their favor, 5.5 minutes in, and they would get on the board. It's Pajot from Fasching and Parisi at 7 minutes and 12 seconds. He just buries the rebound in front of the net, and not much chance for Korpisalo there. There was a press by Columbus to answer. The Islanders press back with 8.5 minutes left. Corelli has a net feed. That was picked off. Power play for Columbus. Then it becomes 38 seconds of 4-on-4. Goudreau and Beauvillier were unfriendly with one another along the boards. There was a lot of that tonight. Not a lot of penalties for that. So, yeah. But eventually a power play for the Islanders leads to Barzal getting the goal from Nelson at 16:39. So it's 2-0 for the Islanders after one. Third period. Shots are 4-2 for the Islanders at 4 minutes. Not taking any crazy chances at this point either. Columbus gets stuck on 2 shots for a while. The Islanders blocking the middle of the ice. Nelson has a shot that's blocked off as well. Pajot has a net feed, near miss there. Could have ended it sooner. Pressed by Columbus with 6 minutes left. Robinson can't bury one in close. The goaltender gets pulled with 2.5 minutes left. Roslovic has a shot that deflects wide. And then a point shot is tipped in by Emil Bemstrom. He scores from Bjork and Goudreau at 19:39. Columbus calls a timeout. Whatever they discussed in that said timeout does not work. They lose this one 2-1. The Islanders go to 21-14-2 with the win. The loss puts Columbus at 10-22-2. So the shots in this one 13-7 in favor of the Islanders in the first, 13-7 Islanders in the second, 10-7 Islanders in the third. Final shots 36-21 for the Islanders. Power plays Columbus 0 for 2, the Islanders 1 for 3. The hits are 16-13 for Columbus. Korpisalo saves 34 out of 36. Sorokin not busy, but very good. 20 saves on 21 shots. He gets another victory, as do the Islanders. Now it's time to change boards. All right, Chicago and St. Louis. So we go from a game where Columbus was playing to a game where Chicago is playing, and we can have the debate over which team's the worst right now. There is no wrong answer. It's Stalock versus Bennington in this one. Schen's denied early, but at 3 minutes and 12 seconds on a Hawks turnover, Blues make him pay, and it's Josh Levo from Walker and Toropchenko. So that puts St. Louis up 1-0. Pressed by the Blues then at 4.5 minutes. The Hawks get a power play, and they score on it as Patrick Kane from Seth Jones and Domi at 9:13. I think it's funny with Kane. I'm seeing a lot of advanced stats people saying he's not generating offense anymore. He's really dropped off. I think it's because he's in Chicago. I think once he gets moved, you'll see that those numbers are going to come back up. So that was a good cycle on that power play, and Kane wired it. So he's still got the ability. Hawks with some momentum. There's another power play for them as well. That's killed off. The Blues then get a power play. Barbashev has a blast that's saved, and Chicago kills that off. Felt like most of the power plays were in the first period. Second period, Falk has an early shot that's held. The Blues get a power play. That's killed off. The shots are 3-2 for the Blues at 5 minutes. The Hawks are breaking up entries into their zone. I thought defensively the Hawks did all right today against St. Louis, but at 8 minutes and 40 seconds, Rosen gets a goal to make it 2-1 in favor of the St. Louis Blues. Bennington then won a race with Kurashev for a puck. If Kurashev had got to that, he might have buried it. Shen then had a rush chance that was blocked, but after 2 periods, the score is 2-1 for St. Louis. And keep in mind, at this point, there are 10 games on, so I'm tracking what I can. Third period, Blues press at 2.5 minutes. Levo has a shot that's held. There's some pushing at that stage. Domi has a shot, shoulder save by Bennington on that one. And then Domi and Mikkola tied up. No penalties there again. There was a lot of stuff that might have been a penalty a month ago. Suddenly it's not. Then there's a near break for Shen, but he couldn't catch the puck. The Blues press at 5.5 minutes. Lafferty has a net feed. That's picked off. With 9.5 minutes left, the shots are 4-3 for the Blues. There just wasn't much of a pushback from the Hawks tonight. I know that'll surprise a lot of people. Shen had a shot that was held. The Hawks press with 8 minutes left. They don't get a ton on the net there, though. Blues get a power play. That's killed off. The Hawks pull the goaltender with 1 minute and 30 seconds left. That allows Brennan Saad to hit the net at 19:49 and cinch the win for the Blues, who win this one 3-1. They go to 17-16-3 with the win. For the Hawks, 8-22-4 with the loss. The shots 11-9 Chicago in the first. The shots are 15-5 St. Louis in the second, 6-5 Chicago in the third. Final shots 29-22 for the St. Louis Blues. Power play Chicago 1 for 2, St. Louis 0 for 3. The hits 22-17 St. Louis. Stalock saved 26 out of 28. He was very good in the loss. Binnington 21 saves on 22 shots. And so for St. Louis, they go above 500. And we'll see if they can get some upward momentum from here. It is West, so the West, it's a little bit easier to get above that playoff line than in the East, which, of course, is a topic of conversation at this stage. All right, next up, Dallas in against Minnesota. I didn't think the shots told the whole story tonight. I liked some of what Minnesota had going on, even if they weren't hitting the net. So it was Ottinger versus Fleury in this one. Early jump for the Wild, but the shots are 2 apiece, 4.5 minutes in. The Stars get a power play and they score on it. It's a tip by Sagan in front of the net. Suter with the assist at 7:13. The Wild then get a power play. Kaprizov has a blast, that saved. There was a post for Boldy. That's killed off. The shots are 10-6 for Dallas with 5.5 minutes left. But eventually Minnesota ties it. It's Kaprizov. And it was a really smart move by Kaprizov at 17:09. He just caught Ottinger cheating off the post. Banked it in off of him. It's the only one that got past Ottinger tonight. It was a smart move. The Wild then pressed for the lead, but after one period, it's a 1-1 tie. Second period. Again, the Wild, I thought, got out to a good start. They were leading the shots 2-0 at 4.5 minutes. They press at 7.5 minutes. Spurgeon has a blast that's blocked. Marchment and Dumba were unfriendly along the boards. Hartman couldn't catch a stretch pass. Stars get a power play. That's killed off. Really good, solid period by Fleury in that second period, too. Dallas did have double the shots of Minnesota. Fleury kept them off the board. So it's still 1-1 going into the third. The early jump is for Dallas in the third period, and they would score. Johnston deflects one in. Lundqvist and Heiskanen with the assists at 3:29. The Wild would look to answer. 6.5 minutes into the period, the shots are 6-4 for Dallas. The Wild press at 7.5 minutes. Addison has a shot that nearly gets in, just would not cross the line. The Wild get a power play. That's killed off. Steele's then denied, and his rebound ends up hitting the post. So a couple of posts for Minnesota tonight. Wild were in total control at this point in the game, but with 7:59 left, the Stars get a power play. Johnston fires one high. The Wild clear it out. However, a face-off win during that power play as it's winding down. Ben tips one in. Robertson and Hintz with the assists at 13:26. Initially, I thought it was Robertson's goal, and I was like, oh, finally gets another one. Nope, Ben tipped that one in, and there you go. So Ben and Sagan with goals at that point. Goalie pull with 3 minutes left. The Wild ice it with 2:26 left, and at 17:58, Sagan flips one. And it's nice to see an empty netter that's a little different, where he flipped it high and it ends up dropping into the net. The empty netter puts this one completely out of reach. Your final score is 4-1 for Dallas in Minnesota. They go to 22-9-6 with the win. Minnesota 21-12-2 with the loss. The shots in this one, 15-9 Dallas in the first, 10-5 Dallas in the second, 18-10 Dallas in the third. Final shots 43-24 for Dallas. Power plays, Dallas 2 for 3, Minnesota 0 for 2. The hits were 21-11 for Minnesota. Ottinger saves 23 out of 24, and Fleury saves 39 out of 42. So we get into Vancouver and Winnipeg next. So Dallas, good game for them. Vancouver, Dallas had a good game. So it's Delia versus Hellebuck. They had a nice ceremony before the game for Gagne's 1,000th game that he was playing tonight. And on the first shot, Vancouver scores. It's Kuzmenko from Pettersson at 41 seconds. So good start for Vancouver. Besser then had a tip shot that saved. The shots are 3-0 for the Canucks at 4 minutes. They came to play, and it looked like maybe tonight was going to be a different story than other games against Winnipeg. They just had the one this year. But not to be. So the Jets didn't have any shots halfway through. And then shortly after, they get some pressure and they get some shots as well. DeMello's denied. The rebound's cleared. The Canucks get a power play. There's a near miss for Pettersson. That's killed off. The Canucks press after it ends. The Jets then had a 2-on-1, but that fizzled out. So after the first period, it's 1-0 Vancouver. Second period, early power play for the Canucks. Besser's denied. That's killed off. The Canucks would not get another power play tonight. Connor has a chance that's held. Lowry nearly buries a rebound. The Jets have some momentum now. You could just feel it starting to roll. More Jets pressure 6 minutes in. They do it again at 8 minutes. They just keep rolling. And eventually, that'll get you a power play, and it does. And they score on it because the Canucks penalty kill is their problem. Scheifele scores from Morrissey and Connor at 13:52. So, hey, Morrissey's point streak continues. Dubois then gets a penalty shot, and he scores on it at 15:42. That makes it 2-1 in favor of Winnipeg. The Jets get another power play, becomes a 4-on-4, but there's a parade going on, makes it a 4-on-3 in favor of the Jets, and they score during the 4-on-3. It's Scheifele with another one from Connor and Morrissey at 1957. So the same scoring play, and that makes it 3-1 for the Jets after 2 periods. The Canucks allowing 2 goals on 2 power plays. That's pretty spot on. So third period, because of the parade that was going on, there's a shorthanded Pettersson rush early. Connor then fired one high in a rush for the Jets. Everything's killed off there. DeMello's denied. Delia holds on. Delia with a mishap, but he recovers it. So a little bit of a kerfuffle with the puck. You can tell that the players and Delia aren't familiar with each other. You can see it out there. Hellebuck holds on to a chance for Amon. Stenlund then had an opportunity, was held at the other end. Jets get a power play. That's killed off. The Canucks press with 7.5 minutes left, and eventually they score. Garland banks one in off Hellebuck. So much the same as Kaprizov banking one in off Ottinger, Garland gets the same idea. Hughes and Kuzmenko with the assists at 13-11. Miller then had a rush chance that was held, as the thought process is maybe the Canucks can come back. They pull the goaltender. That allows Scheifele to hit the empty net from Lowry at 1932. That is a hat trick for Scheifele, the 7th of his career. And your final score is 4-2 in favor of the Winnipeg Jets. They go to 22-13-1 with the win. Vancouver's right back to 500. 16, 16, and 3. Exact same record as the Ottawa Senators. Shots in this one, 9-6 Vancouver in the first, 20-7 Winnipeg in the second, 13-6 Winnipeg in the third. The final shots, 39-22 for the Jets. Power plays, Vancouver 0 for 2, Winnipeg 2 for 4. Hits are 20-18 Vancouver. Delia saves 35 out of 38. He was good, I thought. Hellebuck saves 20 out of 22, and I think that Hellebuck goalie's not bad himself. Then we start getting into a little bit of overtime. So we've got some overtime here, and of course some overtime with the last game of the night as well. Not to spoil anything on the last board, of course. So LA in against the Colorado Avalanche. This was an entertaining game. There were some sloppy bits to the game, but sometimes that's what makes it entertaining, right? That's why Buffalo games are always entertaining. So it's Copley versus Georgiev in this one. The Kings get a power play. That was killed off. The shots are 3-1 for the Kings, 6.5 minutes in. And Velarde opens the scoring. He scores from Anderson and Anderson Dolan at 8:56. So 2 guys named Anderson on the board right away. The Avs then press with 4 minutes left. With 2.5 minutes left, the Avs get a power play. Aggressive penalty kill by the Kings. Not too aggressive. They don't take a penalty, and they kill that off. So it's 1-0 LA after 1. Second period. Lehkonen has a shot that's blocked on a 3-on-2. The Avs get a power play, and they score on it. It's Compher from Rantanen and Rodriguez at 4:36. And the Avs have some momentum after that. Byfield though had a rush chance. Byfield's chance was held. Avs press at 6.5 minutes. Rantanen fires one high. Kings get a power play. That becomes a 4-on-4. Everything's killed off. The Kings go back to the power play, though, and they score on this one. It's Danault from Arvidsson and Iafallo at 13:59. So the Kings are back in the lead 2-1. Gerard and Arvidsson are unfriendly. So Arvidsson took a hit from Gerard that he didn't like. There wasn't a penalty on the play. And so Arvidsson wanted to have some words with Gerard after. So that led to a bit of a meeting of the minds, so to speak. Then at 15:58, Cogliano wires one far side on a rush from Makar. So suddenly it's 2-2. And then at 16:43, Makar decides, I'll just do this myself. And he wires one under the glove and in. And so it's suddenly 3-2 for the Avs. Things get punchy after a save for Georgiev. We end up with 2 minutes of 4-on-4. Which must have agreed with Rodriguez because he scores to make it 4-2 from Rantanen and Makar at 18:47. So we're going to the third period. It's 4-2 for Colorado. However, Kings get a power play and they score on it. At 1 minute, 11 seconds, it's Iafallo from Arvidsson and Dursey. And it's a tic-tac-toe goal. Really nice goal there. No chance for Georgiev. Kings nearly tie it the next shift. The Avs press at 4.5 minutes. The shot 6.5 minutes in, or 4-3 for the Kings. The Avs get a power play. The Kings don't let them set up. They do kill that off. The Avs press with 7 minutes left, but Walker ties it. He scores from Fiala and Lazat at 14:20. Malgin's then denied in close as he's trying to get Colorado back into the lead. With 2:47 left, the Avs get their 5th power play. That's killed off as well. We're going to overtime. In the overtime, Kings controlled it early. They even get a change in. The Avs finally get the puck 1 minute and 20 seconds into the overtime. Lehkonen has a shot that's blocked. Makar's denied, and the rebound was missed. And we're going to a shootout. In the shootout, LA takes over. Arvidsson and Kempe get the goals. And so LA wins in a shootout in Colorado, 5-4. They go to 21-12-6 with the win. Colorado drops to 19-12-3 with the loss. The shots in this one, 12-7 LA in the first, 11-6 Colorado in the second, 8-7 Colorado in the third, 2-1 LA in the overtime. Final shots are 27-27. Power plays, 2 for 4 for LA, 1 for 5 for Colorado. Hits were 25-24 Colorado. Both goaltenders, Georgiev and Copley, saved 23 out of 27. So entertaining game. If you're a fan of the Abs, you might be frustrated you didn't get the 2 points. But again, as long as they're getting points until McKinnon gets back, that's good news, right? Right. All right, next up, Toronto in against Arizona. So apparently the internet's not happy with Morgan Rielly. It's his first game back. It's so weird. I also want to say Morgan Rielly's an excellent defenseman. If Leaf fans are tired of him, cool, great. Tyler Myers it is then. So yeah, anyways, Murray versus Vejmelka in this one, and at 46 seconds, Bjugstad puts Arizona on the board. So Toronto's behind right away. The shots are 2-1 for Toronto 5 minutes in, but that one shot for Arizona went in. Leafs get a power play. Nylander has a shot that deflects wide, and then Holmberg scores from Timmins and Engvall at 9:02. So that's a tip in for Holmberg, and it's the second power play unit for Toronto that gets on the board. So it's nice to see them on the board. Leafs go back to the power play, and they score on that one too. It's Yarncroke from Timmins and Rielly at 12:33. So Morgan Rielly there with an assist, and that's the end of the power plays for Toronto tonight, which Sheldon Keefe seemed to be quite okay with. Coyotes get a power play. There's a shorthanded rush by Marner that's saved. That power play is killed off. And so it's 2-1 Toronto after one. Now, Sheldon Keefe was very animated during this game, but you could tell he was muted because of the fine that he got the last game out. Sheldon Keefe is one of the more vocal coaches. He's one of the more likely to complain. And so I know people get upset that he got fined. I'm not saying I agree with the fine, but I can kind of see where the NHL is coming from, in that Sheldon Keefe will argue a lot with the officials. So, second period. Zone time for the Coyotes. They're not getting shots there, though. Then there was a fight between Hunt and McBain, so Dryden Hunt showing what he can do. And McBain, well, he's McBain. Shots are 2 apiece at 5 minutes. The Coyotes then get a power play, and they score on it. It's Chychrun. His value just keeps going up. Scores at 6:52 from Ritchie and Goss to spare. Matthews then has a wraparound. That's defended. Things get pushy after a whistle on the Coyotes' end, so we get 2 minutes of 4-on-4 out of that. At 11:19, Kerfoot gives the Leafs the lead back. He scores from Giordano and Hall. The Leafs press with 4 minutes left. Matthews would end up hitting the post. It's 3-2 Toronto after 2 periods. What could possibly go wrong? Third period. Early jump for Toronto. The shots are 3-1, though, for the Coyotes at 2 minutes. So the Leafs get that early zone time, but the Coyotes push right back. Then they end up getting a power play to those Coyotes, and they score on it. With 1 second left in it, it's Mosier from Valimaki and Hayden at 4 minutes and 40 seconds. This game is tied. Coyotes then press for the lead, and McBain would get it. It's a turnover, and McBain tips it in from Krause and Bjugstad at 13:43. So suddenly, Arizona's got their second lead of the night. Then, with 2:37 left, the goaltender gets pulled. That means McBain gets another one from Hayden at 17:38. Toronto pulls the goaltender again. They're down by 2. They need something. With 39.6 seconds left, Keefe calls a timeout to discuss things. Whatever he discussed doesn't work out. Hayden hits the empty net next at 19 minutes and 11 seconds. And Arizona wins this one 6-3. They go to 13-16-5 with the win. Toronto drops to 22-8-6 with the loss. So they can't beat Arizona. The good news, they're not going to meet Arizona in the playoffs. The shots in this one, 13-2, Toronto in the first period. 13-2, and one of those 2 shots was 46 seconds in for Arizona. In the second period, the shots are 9 apiece, and in the third, it's 12-10 for the Coyotes. Final shots are 32-23 for Toronto. Power plays Toronto 2 for 2, Arizona 2 for 3. So the penalty kill was a problem for both teams. The hits, 38-27 for Arizona. Murray saves 17 out of 21. Vejmelka, 29 saves on 32 shots. He seems to have Toronto's number, doesn't he? That Carl Vejmelka, of all people. And at any rate, we'll see if Arizona can get some momentum going out of this and what Toronto does in their next game. That being said, I need to change boards. As promised, 1 board in just this game. And that's it. And it had my undivided attention for about half of it. So it was Ersson versus Kakkonen. Ersson came into this game without a win in his career. It's a very short career, though. And Tortorella defended him after that loss and said, hey, he didn't get any help from the guys in front of him. So the Sharks had the early jump. Harrington fires one wide. The first whistle isn't until 5:51, and I like that. I thought, if they're going to rush through this game, that's good. DeAngelo's denied on a 2-on-1 rush. The Flyers press at 7 minutes. Kakkonen holds there. Gadjevich is denied as the Sharks press, and Hurdle opens the scoring from Carlson and LeBanc at 9:38. It's a centering pass by Carlson, and Hurdle buries it. Then Konechny answers at 10:25, so they had the lead for less than a minute. DeAngelo and Farabee with the assists, and Konechny deflected a point shot in, so not much of a chance for Kakkonen there. The shots are 10-7 for the Sharks with 7.5 minutes left. Sanheim then fires one wide as the Flyers press. They would press again with 3.5 minutes left, but after the first period, it's a 1-1 draw. Second period, early jump for the Flyers. Tippett has a shot that's held. The shots are 2-0 for the Flyers at 3 minutes. But the Sharks get a power play and they score on it. It's Hurdle from Meyer and Couture at 8:29. So Tomas Hurdle with his second goal of the game. And he did have hat-trick opportunities. The Flyers then get a power play. That's killed off. The best power play best penalty kill, I should say, in the league is San Jose's. And that was the only power play Philadelphia had in the game, too. Sharks press with 9 minutes left. Ristolainen has a shot deflect wide as the Flyers are pressuring. Physical plays picking up at this point, too. Konechny's denied on a rush. Sealer's then denied as the Flyers control it. The Sharks draw a power play with 2:51 left. Meyer was denied. He fired the next opportunity he had high. That power play is killed off. So we're going to the third period with the score 2-1 San Jose. 52 seconds in, on a rush, LeBanc gets his 9th of the year. Hurdle and Carlson with the assist. So Hurdle with 2 goals and an assist. For Carlson, that's his second assist of the game and his 50th point. It took him 37 games. I think that's the second fastest for a defenseman in history, something along those lines. Carlson, and then immediately it was give him the Norris. And I'm like, nope, can we have the Norris discussion another time, please? So the Flyers look to answer. I'm just saying, I know Carlson's getting a ton of points, but if we're talking about the best defenseman in the game, there's a debate to be had. So the Flyers look to answer. The Sharks, I thought, were turning the puck over too much at this stage. They're up by 2. It's only the Flyers, but you're turning the puck over too much. So Farabee's denied on a rush, but then Tippett scores at 5:57 from Van Riemsdyk and Sealer. Then there's a near miss for Meyer on a rush opportunity. The shots are 4-3 for Philadelphia with 9 minutes left. The Flyers press with 6.5 minutes left. With 5:33 left, LeBanc was down. The Sharks get a power play. It was a 5-minute boarding call on Farabee. They reviewed it and they changed it to 2. Coach David Quinn did not agree with it being changed to 2 minutes. He was not happy. Sharks fans weren't happy. I don't think the Sharks were happy either. And the fact is that turning it to 2 instead of 5 kind of leads to what happens the rest of the game. So there's a shorthanded rush by Konechny. Things get punchy with 3:54 left. No penalties out of that. And then they resumed it and they killed the penalty. Things get pushy on each whistle. The goalie gets pulled with 2:51 left. And eventually Lawton gets it from Konechny and DeAngelo at 17:55, though there was some debate about whether or not it's going to be Konechny's goal after all. But it was a face-off win, and it went in off Mario Ferraro. So that ties the game at 3, and it goes to overtime. The Flyers 0-7 in overtime coming into this one. They controlled it early, and they would get the only shot on net. That's all they needed. On a 3-on-1, you can't have that. It was a bad line change by San Jose. Philadelphia takes advantage. DeAngelo scores from Provorov and Tippett at 1 minute and 10 seconds. So the Flyers win their first overtime game of the year. They can now go to 12-17-7 with that overtime win. For the Sharks, very frustratingly, 11-19-7. I say frustratingly because I had the Sharks reverse retro on. I have a hat that matches it now. And then I had to not wear that for the recap. So there you go. The shots are 12-9 San Jose in the first, 11-10 San Jose in the second, 6-5 for Philadelphia in the third, and they had the only shot in the overtime. So they get outshot 28-26, but 3 of their last 7 shots went in the net. Ouch. Power plays in this one, 0 for 1 for Philly, 1 for 3 for San Jose. The hits, 28-27 for Philly. Ersson gets his first NHL win with 25 saves on 28 shots. Kakkonen looked decent, and then, 3 goals on his last 7 shots. That doesn't help, but 22 saves on 26 shots for Kakkonen. And again, this is 2 teams against each other that aren't going to make the playoffs, but entertaining game either way. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.